Paul Schneiderman today on the 102nd edition of Sports Untold on Rainier Avenue Radio. My special guest today is Bill Wixey. Bill is an Emmy Award-winning Seattle-based broadcast journalist. We're on Facebook Live today. Bill's a Lake Washington High School graduate, a graduate of the Murrow School of Washington State University. Bill is currently the Fox 13 Seattle morning news anchor. He's worked at Fox Sports Net. He's covered the Green Bay Packers. He worked in Green Bay. Bill's just done so much stuff in the media business. My podcast, Sports Untold, is now on Spotify, Google, Amazon, YouTube. And
wow.
We're kind of make this thing, kind of build this thing up a little bit more, Bill. But I really appreciate you coming on the 102nd edition of Sports Untold. And I think it's just so much fun for many people who see some of their broadcast and media people on the radio and TV, hear and listen to people, to kind of learn more about them in these type of interviews. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun today.
It's my pleasure, man. It's good to finally be on, Paul.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad we're doing this. And you've been a guest I want to get on for a while, and I've always enjoyed seeing you over the years on a few occasions. Well, Bill, I'm just going to have a potpourri of questions today. And I read that you were in Croatia recently. Can you tell us about your trip to Croatia?
Yeah, I had this was a trip that was planned for a couple of years, and the pandemic shut everything down. So we had to kind of book it, rebook it, and then reconfigure everything around it. And, with the COVID protocols and such, we had to, jump through a lot of hoops, but it was totally worth it. We rented a boat over there. A buddy of mine is a international boat captain. So he has his international boat captain's license, which you need to rent. It's a 36-foot power catamaran. So we had that for a week in Croatia, and we were just bouncing around through the islands. And then my other buddy, Wayne Johnson from Fair Start, he and his wife joined us. And so we had a world-class chef with us as well. I'm not going to lie, that is the way to travel right there. It was amazing.
Well, for guys like you can pull it off. Now, I understand Croatia is just, from a topography standpoint, a very beautiful country.
Yeah, it's incredible. I saw a lot of it, but not anywhere near as much as I would like to. So we hit, I would call them like tourist spots, and some of them definitely are. Like Hvar is the big, the old town there, and like kind of where all the tourists go and hang out, and that's pretty close to Dubrovnik. And then you could go, and where we went, hit all these islands. There were 5 or 6 different islands, Korčula, and then there was like Bol and Solta, and these cool little coves and stuff. And they're like blue caves and green caves and lagoons, and incredible. You're just meeting people from all over the world, and it was a really great experience. And I was told by a buddy who lives in Prague that that's where to go to Croatia and check that. And I took his advice and did the boat thing as he suggested, and I could not recommend it more highly. It's an amazing place, but like I say, there's so much more to it because there's so many islands and archipelagos all up the north and southern part of it. So the secret's sort of getting out. Everybody knows about Greece. It's amazing. And this is a bit north of there. But yeah,
what a trip.
I could not recommend. Yeah, I know. It's incredible. You can tell I'm blabbering on about it.
No, I love it. I want you to elaborate. I've been to Prague. I've been to Czech Republic, which I love, but I've never seen any other parts of Eastern Europe. Did you, Bill, when you were there, I know it sounds like your trip was more kind of a less of a tourist trip maybe. But when you were in Croatia, did you feel any remnants at all from the war that ended 26, 27 years ago? Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to a lot of people about it, had some fascinating conversations about what changed and what hasn't changed. And they're still hurting. There's no question about it. I mean, these are areas that rely on tourists, and they were cut off from that for a long time. So the economic impacts are definitely being felt, and you kind of get the sense that they are one, match strike away from something going down again. There's a lot of really hurt feelings, and it's, I mean, it was literally in some cases, family members warring against each other, and really brutal, bloody, and sad. So, because it's such a beautiful country. I mean, everything they say about it is absolutely true, and the people are beautiful, just wonderful people.
Well, really, I think a lot of listeners will enjoy and viewers will enjoy learning more about your trip to Croatia. We could talk all about Croatia today, but I want to move on and hit on some other subjects. I can't keep you on the show for hours, Bill. I wouldn't do that to you. Bill, how you've been in the media. I mean, your voice and face is so familiar to people in the Northwest. How did you get this whole broadcasting bug? Tell us about how you kind of got the bug to go into what you're doing.
Well, okay. I'm one of those weird people that knew what they wanted to do at a pretty young age. And I spent a lot of time. My dad and I were season ticket holders to everything, Huskies, and I grew up a hardcore Husky, even though I ended up being a Coug. So I'm kind of a Cougski, I guess. I root for them both. But Huskies, Seahawks, Mariners, Sounders, even the old NASL Sounders, Seattle Totems hockey. Grew up playing hockey. Baseball, the Mariners, season ticket holders to the Mariners from like 77 to like 81. I mean, that was like a sentence you had to serve.
Remember
at a
it well.
point. So
yeah.
A lot of time inside the kingdom, more time than any kid naturally should have. And so for me, like I knew at a point pretty young that I wasn't going to make it as a professional athlete. So I was looking at the guys that were hanging out on the field and going in, chatting with the players and stuff, the reporters. And I thought that would be a cool job, to be able to get that pass and go down on the field and go in the locker room and, hang out with those guys, because they were my heroes, And so I thought that would be a great job. And I just went after it. I never wanted anything so bad. And so I went after it with everything I had, and went to Wazoo and got my education, and then went off and worked in small markets and was able to make it back home. I got lucky that way.
You haven't really looked back since you left Washington State, have you, Bill, working in the broadcast industry?
No, it's been 32 years. I working because I was actually working while I was on the air, or I was on the air while I was going to school at Wazoo. My first gig was doing cut-ins for the Idahonian, which is the Moscow newspaper, and they were doing these cut-ins on headline news. And so I would do I think it was like a 3-minute cut-in or something like that. And I would write it and then, produce it. And then I was basically taking newspaper stories and just, translating them into, broadcast form, which was great practice for me anyway. And then I would that starting in 1990. So yeah, it's been, it's been a long time, but I, went to Great Falls, Montana, and went to Arkansas, covered the Razorbacks there, covered the Packers in Green Bay, and then was able to come home. But it was the journey was amazing. Like I had no idea where I was going to end up. I had no clue. I hoped at a point actually I would end up at ESPN, and I did get an audition in Bristol in '96. Yeah, something like that. And I didn't get it. I didn't get the Sports Center job, and I was absolutely floored and devastated, and I didn't know what to do. And I was having this existential crisis. And then Tony Ventrella, who I had met many, many years ago, prior to that, called me up, and I'd been in touch with him. And he said, I think we might have a job for you at Cairo. He was at Cairo at the time. So he brought me in as a weekend guy at Cairo in '98. And that was my big break, as it were.
Been in Seattle area since the late '90s, haven't you, Bill?
Yeah. March of '98.
It's fun to hear
about. It was
a
big deal for me, man. That was a huge deal for me.
It's fun to hear about your run, and you've really worked your way up, going from some small and medium-sized markets back to Seattle, which is a pretty big market. So I think it's fun for listeners and viewers to hear more about your journey. Paul Schneiderman, host of the 102nd edition of the Sports Untold Podcast, also on Rainier Avenue Radio with Bill Wixey, the Emmy Award-winning broadcaster at Seattle's Fox News 13. Bill, as I was preparing for your interview, I went and read a little more about you. And one thing I did not know about you is you've done some acting.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, so I went to college. When I left Lake Washington, I went to a little college in Missouri, and the idea was that I was going to go play baseball there. And I was not ready for the rigors of actual college school type stuff. So I failed miserably there, and I ended up flunking. I didn't even finish my second semester, and I just moved back home. And then honestly, I just partied for a year and had a blast, and then decided, okay, I do want to do this broadcasting thing, and I'm not going to get there this way. So I went to Bellevue College. It was actually there that I met Tony Ventrella, and I met him in an acting class that I just randomly enrolled in. And then I fell in love with acting then, and that was, and I actually was going to pursue that as a career. I was very, very close. I got scholarship offers to Cornish and to Cal Arts, and was interested in some other places, but Cal Arts is where I really wanted to go, and it looked like the thing. And then I had kind of a heart-to-heart with my dad, who said, I'm willing to help you in any way I can do this, because it's a really expensive school. But he said, realize though that you're going to have to probably do another job before you get your acting job, because the struggling actors, and you're waiting tables and whatever. And I had to really think about that one, because he was right. And I thought, well, I do have this real strong passion for sports and for broadcasting, and I like it. And so I decided to not do it and go to Washington State. And I knew immediately when I went to Pullman that it was the right choice. And I got in that. And then the broadcasting program was phenomenal. I had lots of opportunities. I hosted shows, but they also had this comedy show at Washington State called Live at 8. And were we a big deal? I don't know. We thought we were. We thought we were really funny. And we got written up in Rolling Stone and stuff, and like people would come to our live sketch comedy shows on Friday, and it was broadcast on the local TV channel 8, and then like it was picked up by some national college television thing, and like we thought we were like mini rock stars or something. And a lot of people actually that worked on that show have gone on to some very big things. So we had a very talented group of people who wrote and performed all of our stuff. We directed our stuff and produced it all. And it was a really great experience. And some of those people on that show are some of my best friends to this very day. So Wazoo was a great call. And that said, you asked about the acting thing. I did get back into it. I was doing some voice work. I've done some radio theater stuff with Cairo. And then I actually went right back to Bellevue College right before the pandemic and started taking scene study classes again at Bellevue, just because I like it, just because I like doing the work. It's just, I have no aspiration to be like a star of TV or, silver screen or whatever. I have none of that, but like, I just like doing the work. It's just a lot of fun. And so my schedule doesn't allow it all that much because I get up so early, but when I can, I like to dive into that and give it a go.
Well, Bill, I just thought of something. So the actor Bryan Cranston, great actor, he kind of got bigger in his 50s. Maybe Wixey can kind of use the Kramer model and kind of becoming your 50s a big actor. Maybe there's something there. So, okay.
Well, listen, Cranston,
Bryan Cranston.
He's a different. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the greats. So you can't. I don't even hardly know what I'm doing yet. I mean, I do, but the process to me is just fascinating. I like getting in somebody else's skin and forgetting about what else is going on in the world for a little while and just getting into that space. That to me it's incredibly hard to do. It's hard to even explain how hard it is to do authentically, and to be true and really be in the moment as an actor. But when you're there, man, it's really something. And when you're working with another really good, committed person, there's magic in there.
I enjoy some of the local theater, like the Inman and the Rep and the Fifth Avenue. There's some
Me
really
too.
good
Yeah.
Seattle local theater.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're lucky. We have a great theater scene here.
The Rep, yeah, there's some good stuff here. Paul Schneiderman again on Sports Untold, the 102nd edition with Bill Wixey. Bill, important part of your life is I know you're a cancer survivor. And can you share with us a little bit about Hodgkin's lymphoma and just maybe some general awareness you can give to people about this disease that you conquered?
Yeah, well, conquer, I don't know. I mean, after 5 years being cancer free, they say you're cured. So that's, that's what I'm going on. But that was 11 years ago. And it's something, to be honest with you, I went through it in kind of a public way. I don't talk a ton about it anymore. And I think part of it is that it's always kind of in the rear view, and so it was a tougher fight on me than I wanted to publicly admit, because the part of it, and if I'm being really honest, like the part of it that I didn't fully grasp at the time while going through it was the mental aspect and what it does to you, from a, you realize you're not totally in control. We go through these things in our lives where we kind of think, oh, we've got this. Oh, I can handle that. I can do that. That's one of those things you're like, well, crap, I can only do what I can do. And that's gotta be good enough. And if it's not, then see ya, So, it's really humbling, and they offer you resources, right? And when you're a youngish man, I guess I was 41 at the time, like, when they offer you resources and you're going through something like that, I think the dude mindset would be, I don't need that. I'll talk to my friends, or, I'll talk to my spouse or whatever. But like, truly, that's where I stumbled. I should have acknowledged that what I was going through had the gravity that it did, and I didn't want to give it that power at the time. So that's the big insight that I would give on that, is just like, take the help. When they say we have resources to help you talk through it, even if you don't think you need to talk through it, it's good to, articulate that stuff at the time, because, as you come out of it, it's almost like a prize fighter after a, heavyweight bout or something. And you're, you feel a little beaten up, but you're also kind of like, okay, now what, And so there's a kind of it's a weird emptiness in there. It's hard to describe. Anybody who's been through that kind of a fight knows, but take the help.
So, Bill, as public as you were with your illness, there was more to it that maybe some people did not know about. Is that kind of what you're sharing with us? Okay.
Oh, I think so, for sure. I think what I was doing is talking myself up too. I was kind of pepping myself up by saying, oh, I got this. And you asked about Hodgkin's, and honestly, like, Hodgkin's, as opposed to some others, is a lot less nasty, a lot less deadly, because of, really great advances in technology and research and medicine over the last, 20, 30 years. They've been able to, have a very good cure rate, like 95%, even late stage. So that was encouraging to me. So that made me feel like I was going to be able to knock it out. And that was the attitude I took into it. But that said, it still takes a lot out of you.
Well, Bill, thank you for opening up about a subject that's obviously a powerful one in your life. So I appreciate you sharing a little more about the illness. Bill, just to rewind for a second, the one thing you said I really got a kick out of is that you're a little bit of a kookski. So I'm gonna steal that line. I never heard that one before. That was a good one. And real quickly, another quick rewind here. There's that actor that I know you and Chris Davis know, who went to Lake Washington, who's had a lot of success. What's his name again? I think he played basketball at Lake Washington. Yeah,
well, he was Jeff Morgan back in the day. Now he's Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
That's right. Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So
yeah,
he's had a lot of success. I was just thinking about one of your classmates who's He's a good actor.
Yeah, he's kicking butt.
Doing really well. Been some fun stuff. I know you worked in Green Bay, and I want to ask you a couple questions about your Green Bay experience. Was it hard when you worked in Green Bay? Let me ask a little differently. When you worked in Green Bay, did you become a Packers fan at all? And I also want to ask you about Holmgren getting in the Seattle Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I was really happy about that. Mike's an awesome guy. Like in Green Bay, that is a town that bleeds green and gold. The best way I heard it put is it's a drinking town with a football problem. And because like I was the sports director for the NBC affiliate there, and I didn't really know quite what I had gotten myself into when I got that gig, but I got up there and it was all Packers all the time. Anything happened with the Packers, it led the news. Like, I mean, it was huge. You know, you covered the others, you know, like it was a Milwaukee scene. So it was like more, you know, so it was Wisconsin. You were doing Badgers stuff, but you're also doing Bucks and you're doing Brewers. And, but the Packers dominated. They dominate statewide. And so that was a blast. And like the whole the scene there, the tailgating, the brats and the beer and the bars and Green Bay is there's nothing like going to a game on a Sunday at Lambeau. There's just nothing like it. Anywhere I've been to, dozens of stadiums all over. Like there's really nothing like Lambeau Field. And some of it's the mystique and it's just I can't recommend it more highly. When the Seahawks play the Packers on the 17th, if you can get to Lambeau and you can get a ticket, go.
I got to put on my bucket list.
Be a part of that. Win or lose, you're going to have a blast.
Like to see it. I agree with you. It was fun to see Holmgren get in the Ring of Honor. Do you think Mike Holmgren should be in the NFL Hall of Fame too, or the Canton Hall of Fame?
He was one game away. I think he was a push-off call. D-Jack, I think he got jobbed on that, and I think that if that call goes the other way and the touchdown stands, I think Holmgren maybe has a second title with the second team, and that would be, obviously Hall of Fame worthy. I think it's a shame that he couldn't get that one done, and I think he knew at that time the legacy that he was standing in front of right there. Felt good about the team's chances against Pittsburgh. And I think they got jobbed. I'm not going to lie. I really do. To my dying day, I'm going to say that the Hawks got robbed in that Super Bowl, and they should have won that game. And Holmgren, as a result, would probably be in the Hall of Fame.
There were some bad calls. Holmgren also was a great offensive coordinator. So I think when the experts analyze his Hall of Fame chances, some other aspects of his career to be considered too.
You know what? That's a great point. I mean, he was one of the great tutors of quarterbacks ever. And you look at his track record, it's ridiculous. And the guys that he brought up and the way he brought them up, he had a real. We had Kurt Warner on the show the other day, and I was reminded of that legacy too. Like in Green Bay, you look at the legacy not only of coaches, that coaching tree that came out of Bill Walsh, and then there were branches coming out of Holmgren as well. But then the quarterbacks that were there. So at the time, Kurt Warner came in for a cup of coffee, trying to win a job with the Packers as a third stringer. Maybe he was behind Favre, Brunell, and Ty Detmer. Those were the three quarterbacks. When I was there, it was Favre, McMahon, Doug Peterson. Like, I mean, you talk about legends, like every single one of them, right? I mean, Peterson, maybe not so much as a quarterback, but certainly Ferndale High School. And, now he's got a statue out in front of Link in Philadelphia, which is pretty amazing.
It's incredible, Mike Holmgren's influence on so many players. Bill, I went to my first Kraken game last night, the new Client Pledge Arena. It's amazing.
Hey.
It's a great arena. And I went with my 83-year-old stepfather. I had a great time.
Yay.
And, I remember, Bill, several years ago, you were a supporter of the Key Arena, or you became a supporter of the Key Arena remodel plan over the proposed Soto plan. And I remember you got a little flack for that. Do you feel more validated and vindicated that?
I don't know. I was on team. Let's get an arena built.
Yeah.
I didn't really care. I wanted it built. I was as baffled as anybody about the Occidental Vacation and why that didn't go through, and why the other arena plan didn't go through. Seemed like, zoning wise, it made a lot of sense. Um, the traffic and the parking on, up on Queen Anne is not great. I'm not going to argue about that. It never has been, probably won't be in the near future. But like, I just wanted an arena. I wanted to get the Sonics back. That was really my focus. And then in talking with these guys and going down to Los Angeles, whatever, 4 years ago or whatever, and talking to Tim Lewicki, and I just asked every single question that we all had at that time. It's like, why should we trust you? Why would you be getting this done? Why is this the plan? Why should we get behind this? And he sold me. Tim's a good talker, but he had the gravitas to back it up. And he had the connections, probably most importantly, to back it up. At that time, I didn't even know his brother was going to get involved, but I had a pretty strong idea that he would probably somehow be involved. And, those guys are truly, they're sports management royalty, the Lewicki. So, and there's something there. And he told me something that day that definitely came true. He was 2 steps beyond, like, getting the permitting and all that stuff. He was thinking of GMs. He was thinking of, this is how we're going to build a franchise in Seattle. The arena was going to happen as far as he was concerned at that point, even though there were so many people here that were like, we don't want it there. We want it in Soto. And I'm like, do you want it or don't you? There were issues with that Soto plan. And so it made a lot of sense. Let's get the thing built. Let's get going, and we'll deal with that thing then. But like the NBA coming back, that's going to happen. We all know that now. It was just a question of the barn, and now it's built and it's there and it's beautiful, and so the Sonics will come back. If there's not an NBA team that isn't paying attention.
I was personally a little bit of a skeptic if the Seattle Center Arena remodel would ever work, but I just think that many of us that were skeptical, I think we've been proven wrong in some ways. That's my 2 cents on it. And Bill, you may have been ahead of the curve and seen the benefits of a Seattle Center Arena remodel plan. I just remember that from a few years ago when you were giving your thoughts on that.
I think we just needed to get it done. We were dancing around it for a decade, and nothing was going on. We were so close here, we were so close there, and nothing was happening. I remember, 6 years ago when the Coyotes were one city council vote away from moving here, and we didn't even have a building.
Remember it well.
Yeah. That's how attractive our market is without a building. Now we have a palace, which is also one of the premier music venues on the West Coast now. So we scored.
I hear you. It's very exciting. Bill, you mentioned about the prospects of the Sonics coming back, the NBA coming back. I want to ask you a question, Bill, and you cover local politics. You cover so much stuff as a news anchor. Do you think the Seattle mayor's race, or I should say the winner of the mayor's race this year, who's either going to be Bruce Harrell or Leonard Gonzalez, do you think the next mayor of Seattle will play any role in whether we get a team back in the next few years, or do you think the NBA is going to come back regardless of who the mayor of Seattle is? Help me with that. Answer that question.
The answer to that question would be, I would think Bruce Harrell would have a better impetus to bring basketball back. He's a basketball guy in a basketball family, and has had high-level discussions with high-level people in the NBA. That said, could either of them bring the NBA back? Yeah, I would think so. It was always about the building. It is about the building. The larger issues that Seattle is struggling with right now, that remains to be seen. Who has a plan, and the better plan or whatever. But I would like to think personally that our city's economy and this gold rush, in terms of tech money that's flowing through here, I would think that would be enough to lure. Well, it was enough to lure Oakview, Tim Lewicki and his group to come in here and spend $2 billion to get these complexes up and running, and to make this happen. And Bonderman has stated, even to me, that he would like to be a part of an ownership group for the NBA. Like, he's down. So it's all there. I mean, so that's really the bigger question. Who would be more of a supporter of the NBA, as Jenny Durkin has been? I would say probably Bruce Harrell.
Harold could be maybe more of a catalyst to getting it done versus Gonzalez. Is that a fair point, maybe? Or
Yeah, I think it's a crucial election. I mean, not to make too fine a point of it, but it's really crucial. I feel like our city is at a crossroads here. And we were talking last week about how about how the World Cup representatives were in town and how they are touring Seattle as a possible World Cup site. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me that the World Cup would want to go into business with Seattle. We're like Soccer City, USA, aren't we? Or we were. I mean, that would make a ton of sense. You would want to have Seattle be a site of the World Cup, and believe me, that would be, I mean, monumental. That's like getting the Super Bowl. I mean, maybe we'd get it, a couple, 3 times with the World Cup venue here. But that said, I'm thinking about what those people are seeing as they go around. If they're seeing what I see when I come in to work and I take that Mercer exit every day and I look around and I see the trash, which interestingly got cleaned up last week, a lot of it. And I'm seeing homeless encampments and I'm seeing graffiti, a lot more graffiti now than I did. And so there's been, and this is not news to anybody, there's been a bit of an ideological shift in the city towards really trying to help the homeless, and we can't be heartless, and we can't sweep the encampment. Sweeping has real repercussions too. So like, how do we deal with this? This is a problem that has grown in some cases like exponentially through the pandemic, and we're seeing it. Like Green Lake, you've been over there, Woodland Park. People don't want to take their kids out there anymore, and that's really frustrating. So from that standpoint, you want to bring big things into the city. You want to attract the NBA. You want to attract the World Cup. You want to continue to attract, big events into the city, to our convention center and so forth. It's got to be an effort from, not only a marketing and PR side, but a humanitarian side. What is the plan? We can't just keep throwing money at it. It's not doing anything. It's not going anywhere.
a lot of issues in this city. Bruce Harrell, I know Bruce a bit. He is a big sports fan, so I think he certainly would embrace having the NBA come back. We'll have to see what happens. Paul Schneiderman, again, host of Sports Untold, the 102nd edition, also running on Rainier Avenue Radio with Bill Wixey. Bill, I asked these 2 questions to many guests, and with you as a full-time anchor, I'm going to expand on these questions a bit. But here's my first 2 questions on this general topic of people in history, living and deceased, that interests you. Who is a deceased sports figure you would have loved to have interviewed or had a conversation with, and who's a living sports figure you would love to interview or have a conversation with?
Well, Muhammad Ali pops into my mind, just because I never actually spoke to him. I encountered him twice in my life, and he's one of those figures where, like, once I was at a boxing match. I was in where was I? I was in Detroit. It was a Tyson fight, and Layla Ali was on the undercard, and it was, I don't know, maybe like the first or second undercard bout, and these guys are in the middle of the ring, and there's this huge eruption, and it's kind of a slow moving one. And here comes Muhammad Ali being guided into the arena. This was at the Palace at Auburn Hills. And, he's being guided down towards the ring, and everybody slowly can see what this is about. The guys in the ring probably don't have any idea. They're like, wow, he must be fighting really well. These people are going crazy. No, but it was the greatest. He was there in the house. It was really cool. And then the other time was not long after that. I was at the Chicago airport, and I was just walking down, and I see this huge crowd of people. It's like a big, circular group of people. and what is going on there? And I'm looking and I look, and Muhammad was there in a wheelchair, and he was just shaking people's hands, just like one after the other. I mean, like people just wanted to be near that. So like,
but you saw him a couple
times.
I
mean, can you imagine being like Dick Cavett or to be Howard Cosell back in the day, and to be able to have that kind of relationship with Muhammad Ali? I mean, I'm so fascinated by that guy. So that would be my guy.
So many of my guests, I mentioned Ali as a deceased sports figure they would love to have interviewed or had a conversation with. I also gotten like Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Dean Smith, all sorts of great names. Who's a living... Ty Cobb would be fascinating. Yeah.
Is he really as cantankerous as they say?
Yeah, he wasn't known to be great on race relations, but that's a whole other conversation. About
Ty
Cobb.
Well, we can get into that with him too.
Right.
Maybe he changed his mind.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but he had his problems. Who's a living sports figure, Bill? You'd love to have an interview or conversation with? Gotten Sandy Koufax, Joe Montana, Serena Williams, Michael Jordan.
I'll go back. So Holmgren. One of the things that I love talking to Mike about, I mean, I'd like talking to him about anything ever, but like, so to talk to him about football and execution in particular, like coming from the Bill Walsh School, I was always fascinated by the idea of setting the bar so high that even if you didn't quite get there, you're going to come really close and you're going to have a lot of success, right? So everything was about precision. And about you're going to run a perfect route. And if it's not absolutely perfect, it's going to be pretty darn close, right? And everybody's going to be doing that. Like Bill Belichick says, do your job. So I've never actually talked to Bill Belichick. I shoved a microphone in his face one time in a gaggle of reporters, but I've never interviewed the guy. I would love to have an actual sit-down conversation with Bill Belichick sometime and talk football. So some of the stupid little nuances of football with him, I think that would be fascinating.
In Holmgren, I'd love to chat with Mike Holmgren too. I've never met Mike Holmgren. I love listening to him on KJR, but I hadn't gotten the answer of Bill Belichick yet. You also mentioned Holmgren would be great to chat with. Bill, who's a deceased media figure you would have loved to have interviewed or have a conversation with, and who's a living media figure you'd love to have a chat with?
I will always chat with Tony Ventrella anytime, anywhere. I love Tony. He brought me to Seattle, so I owe everything to Tony. I love that guy. He was my idol growing up too on the air. Like when he would do the big 5-ski on the air and stuff, I stole that for my first job. It was the 3-ski. Like I adored Tony. I thought Tony was like the David Letterman of local TV sports. I mean, Bruce King was amazing, and Wayne Cody, icon, right? But Tony just had that thing. I don't know what it was, but a little quirky, a little fun.
He's
so
great.
that was the guy I kind of emulated, and he is that guy to this day. And so I adore Tony, and that's my guy. So I will talk to him about anything, anytime, anywhere. And he's an actor too, which is funny. So when I got back into that game and started taking classes again, I told him, and we were chatting about what he does, because he does community theater still, and really enjoys it. As far as a late one, maybe Murrow, Edward R. Murrow would be a
great answer.
Yeah, I mean, because I've going through the Murrow school, and there's a lot of that tradition there for sure. We had the Keith Jackson studio there. Kathy Gertson has her building there now, and the Washington State schools produce so many great journalists, and they're all over the world now. Doing their thing. But Murrow is to this day, I mean, you say the word Murrow to people and they know it, and it has immediate respect. And I think that's super cool that Washington State has that sort of a connection with something so iconic that just says, brilliance. It says journalistic integrity. It's everything that good journalism, capital J school journalism is about, and I'm so proud to be a part of that.
I had Ventrella on my show last year. He kindly came on. He was a lot of fun. And what was Murrow's send off? Good night and good luck. Was that his send off? Yeah.
Great movie too. If you ever get a chance, George Clooney directed that.
I saw that. Movie. Yeah.
David Strait there.
I saw it. Merle, I mean, you're right. Having the affiliation Merle has with WSU is great. Bill, you got time for a few more minutes? Got a
Sure.
few more minutes? Great, great. Bill, who's
What
a...
time?
Hello? Hello?
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
Hello.
I'm still here. Are you still there,
No,
Bill?
I don't know what I did.
Okay.
Somehow I got you on safe driving mode.
Okay. There we go. I
Oh,
can see
no,
you.
now
I
I'm
can see
off
you.
safe driving mode, so you better watch out.
No, yeah, great. Well, thanks for sticking around, Bill. I got a few more questions
Sorry.
if you're up for it. No, we're having a great time. Who's outside of sports and media, who would be a deceased person history you would have loved to have interviewed or had a conversation with? And who's a living person right now, somebody outside of maybe sports and media you'd love to have an interview with? It could be a world leader, an artist, an actor, whoever, for both questions.
Phew. Uh, hmm. You know, I've been so lucky to interview a lot of really interesting people, but it'd be fun for me to just to have like a really candid conversation about the process of acting with. I mean, I could pick any of 20, I guess. That would be really interesting, but I would want to get super deep into the weeds with it, like if I could, or to talk to like Mike McCready or Eddie Vedder about how their songwriting process. How do you do that? Like, is it a riff that you come up with? Do you ever write down lyrics and then create music from that? What is that process? That's a conversation I've often wanted to have with those guys.
Good names.
Yeah.
Good names.
Yeah. So like that, like it would seem like, so I've met all the members of Pearl Jam except for Eddie now. And I've never asked them any of these geekazoid questions because I just don't have the guts when I'm around them to be that much of a nerd.
Those are all fun names that you've given. Who's a deceased person that you would have loved to have interviewed and chat with? Somebody who's no longer with us that you would have thought, gosh, it would have been fun to have a chat with that person. Right.
Well, it's funny, to go all Seattle with it. Like, I would like, Kurt Cobain, but he hated the media. So if I was a guy representing the media, he wouldn't probably give me the time of day for a decent interview, really. But one time I was on an airplane with Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy's sister, and their family, and we were all flying down to Mexico on the same flight. And I happened to notice that Janie was working on some Hendrix related stuff. And I was that person saying, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but, notice your last name is Hendrix, something. And she's like, yeah, and Jimmy and Ed. And we talked for, like an hour about things. And, I feel like Jimmy had so much more for us, and like, it would have been cool to have seen what Jimmy would have done over the next 40 years.
Oh, for sure.
Because I have a feeling it would have spanned way out of music, and I just get that sense like he was springing into the spring from him. The inspiration was coming in all sorts of different ways. So that would be an interesting one, but I would want to maybe do it like 10 years after, like 73. So maybe like in 83, Jimi Hendrix, 1983.
Gosh, that's a great name from history. A great entertainer that I would have loved to have met or had a conversation with. Jimi Hendrix. A lot of fun. I like it how you went outside of like world leaders. It's fun that you mentioned some local artists and musicians.
Buddy, I got to be honest with you. Like, I'm kind of done with politics. Like, it's rip. I mean, I don't know if you've noted. You contacted me on Facebook, and it was just happenstance that I just happened to glance at it yesterday, because I've essentially quit social media because it's become this like vacuum of hate, and I don't want to be a part of that anymore. And I find that I'm so much happier without it. It's something that we use as a tool in our industry, certainly to connect with the audience. And I always used it in that way to connect, but I felt like there was such a disconnect in that realm that I just can't do it. And so like, I kind of don't like getting into the political realm, and that's probably why my brain didn't go there.
No, well, totally understandable. I'm still on social media, but I've cut back giving my personal opinions too often because it's just toxic. It just seems to turn into it turns into a big online food fight too often. And I'm not looking for those right now. But anyhow, I hear what you're saying, Bill. I'm not going to say I've never commented on some social political issues, and I'm not going to say that I never will not comment again. I've just scaled back. That's kind of where I'm
I used to do it a lot. I used to say it. I used to actually appreciate the feedback. If somebody disagreed, I was happy to have this a discussion about it. But the civility left. It went out the window, and that happened in about what I would say July of 2016.
Got worse,
and
then
it went really far the other way real quick, and so I stayed with it, and at a point I realized it was damaging my mental health. Like I wasn't okay with what I was giving or getting, so I just decided, I don't need that. And it's funny because there's actual science now to indicate that social media can be an addiction, and people really get off on the feedback and how many likes am I going to get, and how many comments am I going to get, and am I really stirring this up, and that becomes like a drug for people. And I just went cold turkey, and I'm better off for that, I think, personally, for now. Like you say.
Here I am on Facebook Live, so I want to act like I'm completely pure on this, but your points are valid in many ways. Bill, we have a new street named after Lenny Wilkens by the new Seattle Center Arena. We have a street named after Edgar Martinez. There's a Royal Brougham Way. Who's another athlete or figure you'd like to see have a street named after them in Seattle or King County? Throw out a name, someone you like to see.
Well, I'll throw one out.
Okay.
Except it wouldn't be a street. It would have to be a block. Walter Jones.
That's a cool one. Maybe do it by the Seahawks Stadium.
Be a block.
Walter Jones. I like it. Bill, what's something in your career that you've not done that you'd love to do in your media career?
I don't have one, Paul.
You've done it all?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
I reached that moment. My bucket list, like if I had one, like I filled it in my job a while ago. The biggest one was the Super Bowl parade, like to have gone to see the Super Bowl in New York and to watch Russell Wilson hold that trophy up. And I'm standing there on the field with the confetti flying down. And I got down the field and I'm like swimming in the stuff. And then I fly home and our flight's delayed and I had barely slept. And then, get here early, on the parade day. And I'm on the air for 12 hours straight that day doing parade coverage. And the plan was for me to get off the air at like 10 or something. I wasn't going to do it. Nobody ever asked me to, but I didn't want to leave. I wanted to be there for every single second of it. And like, that was magic. And I got off the air that day. I was absolutely exhausted by, 5:00 PM. And I just broke down crying. I was like, it's never going to get any better than that. That is literally the pinnacle of everything I've ever wanted to do. It was my whole life, really, because I spent all that time in the Kingdom with bad Seahawks teams and dashed hopes and, the Sonics leaving. And, that Sonics parade is a really, really close to my heart, too. So everything just came full circle with that. So for me, that was the pinnacle, and nothing could ever, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if anything can ever top that.
That 2014 Hawks parade, I was there. I remember the Sonic 79 parade. What great memories. Well, Bill, this is probably my final topic, if you're okay with it. I just want to get your couple insights you have and memories you have of covering a couple of the Olympics that you've covered. Beijing, Vancouver, London. Can you share with the listeners and viewers a little bit about covering those Olympics games?
The Olympics, so for... to be a sports nerd like me, to go and do the Olympic thing and to be able to be a proud American is really cool. You're rocking your American colors, and I'm not a big like team guy. You're not going to see me wearing a lot of Seahawks gear, whatever, generally. but like, I'm more than happy at the Olympics to rock, that I'm an American. And that to me is cool. That's our team, and I like that. It's a convivial, worldwide community, and it feels kind. It feels like we should be the best. It's our best self, I guess, on display, and that's what I like. And the idea that these athletes have trained for years for that one moment, and you get to go there and be a part of it. That's magic. To see some of the things I've seen, Michael Phelps winning gold medals and USA women winning a gold medal, stuff like that. Random, featherweight boxing, like it's magic. That the Vancouver Olympics was super fun for the hockey. I really dug that. That was some of the best hockey I've ever seen. So yeah, it's all of it. If I'm ever offered a chance to go to an Olympics again, or like it ever happens in my realm, I'm all over that.
Seems like, Bill, the feel of being at those Olympics games is just part of it, beyond just the sports. Like you mentioned, just rooting for your country and just the whole atmosphere. It sounds
yeah.
pretty amazing,
You know what?
so.
Now that you mention it, Paul, like I watch the NBC's had the contract for so long now. Like I watch those guys like Tirico and watch Costas for years and all the folks over there. I go, my God, if I could just do that like one time, like how cool would that be? Give me like the overnight. I'll do like an hour at like from midnight to 1 or something. I don't care, 3 to 4, right? Like that's just such a cool gig, so maybe that would be a topper.
That might be so. Covering the Olympics, having a Special Olympics assignment. That may be something in your career you'd love to do before you hang
Olympic hockey, yeah.
Olympic hockey with Bill Wixey and remember Marv Albert.
Oh
and
my
Al
gosh,
Michaels,
yeah, the Olympic hockey cast.
Yeah, right. Well, let's
Paul
see. You never know.
Schneiderman.
Not me. I don't know hockey that well. I'm learning it. I keep telling people I need to learn the infield fly rules of hockey. So I'm learning hockey.
Oh, buddy, I'm doing a hockey 101 series on Fox 13. So
love it.
It's up on my website. Up on our website, we have. So the third one's going to air Monday.
Great.
And so the first one was, this is a puck. The second one is, this is how we skate. And the third one is, this is a hockey stick. And then it's like passing and shooting, and then offside, and then we're getting into icing, and then penalties and fighting and power play, penalty kill, the basics.
I'm gonna watch them all. I think some of my viewers are gonna jump at that as well. So you go to the Q13 website to watch those?
Well, it's just now getting up. I think the second one, it dropped yesterday. So I'll just keep doing them. I'm doing them in conjunction with their games. So
Ian Furness is sure a great local hockey guy, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He really, really knows the game, which surprises me because he doesn't skate.
Yeah, he knows hockey well. It's been fun hearing him as a backup broadcaster when he filled in. Well, Bill, I really appreciate you taking about an hour a day and doing this chat with me on Sports Untold, also on Rainier Radio.
Yeah.
Very kind of you, Bill. I know you worked hard today. You got up early and you did a long broadcast, and you end up spending an hour with me today. So very kind of you doing this, and just so much fun.
And hey, I appreciate the offer, man. Thanks for thinking of me, and you're great. You're awesome at this.
Oh, it means a lot to me, Bill, coming from you as a veteran newscaster, and I've looked up to your career in so many ways, as many others have. So that's I don't get a lot of compliments, but I'll certainly take that one. So thank you so much.
Well, you're doing awesome, man.
Well, having fun.
I'm proud of you because you talked about doing this ages ago, and then whatever happened, our paths didn't quite cross. We weren't able to do it. But look at you now. You're killing it.
Well, thanks, but I'm still learning the ropes so much. I remember back about 2016 when when it was in development of me doing a show on Rainier Avenue Radio. I remember you and I had a couple private communications about it where I wanted your feedback, but thanks for being a supporter. And I was just so glad I got you on. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too, man.
Bill, have a great weekend, and you and I will be in touch. And my assistant producer, Lucius Tenebris, says, I hope one day to look as spiffy as Bill Wixey. So we can end on that note.
Right on. Thanks, Paul.
You too, Bill. A lot of fun. You take care. Bye.